Here's what you gotta do to stop the New World Order. You gotta yell, Bill Clinton's a rapist on TV, and I'll give you $5,000.
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Marc Clair.
Welcome back, Liberty Leadbetters, to another edition of the Lions of Liberty podcast, your home as always for great conversations about the ideas of liberty. And today I am happy to welcome you to the 252nd episode of this very program, which means that, of course, you can find today's show notes over at lionsofliberty.com/252. And if you're a fan of this program, I can only imagine you are a fan of, well, libertarian podcasts. And if that's the case, I've got a couple to recommend for you, starting with my pal Roger Paxson over at the Lava Flow podcast, along with my friend Chris Spangle and the We Are Libertarians podcast, and of course, you cannot forget my man Johnny Rocket Adams and the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. These are all podcasts worthy of your time. Check them out. All right, folks, and here we are once again with another one of our debate roundtable good time recaps. That's what I'm calling it today. It is another edition of Libertarians in Living Rooms Drinking Liquor, and I'm somewhat ashamed to say what I'm drinking. I'm actually drinking a vodka Red Bull because I've had a long day. I actually attended an NFL football game earlier, so I need a little extra oomph in my step to get me through this show, because it's been a long day, folks. So I've got a little bit of Red Bull, a little bit of vodka, a little Tito's vodka. You guys can send us some money whenever you want for that sponsorship plug, Tito's. Thank you very much. But you know I can't do this alone. I cannot talk about a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump showdown without some of my Lions of Liberty crew. And I'm going to start by bringing them in with my man, John Odermatt, host of Felony Friday, all the way from Pittsburgh, PA. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? What is going on? It sounds like you.
I asked you what's going on. You can't ask me what's going on. I have been. Yeah, me and Johnny Rocket were smoking cigarettes outside the schoolyard this morning for about 4 hours.
It's fantastic. You sound good. Sound good.
Like I said, it's been a long day. You know, you go to an NFL football game, even not yelling at the teams. If you have a friend with you, as I did, just to speak to each other a couple of sentences, you need to scream. That's really the only way to communicate. So
yeah. And as we were talking in the pre-show chat or whatever, I don't know. But as you get older, your voice just can't handle it. You yell like one or two times, and you start to feel like you can't do it. Can't do it like when we were kids. But anyway, so I'm sitting here. I watched that debate or whatever you want to call it, and I'm drinking some Henry's Hard Soda. And
Henry's Hard Soda.
Pretty good.
That kind of sounds like a Mike's Hard Lemonade. Do I dispel that notion before the audience out there judges you too harshly?
It's kind of like that, but
okay.
it's made by Henry, not Mike. So
okay. Well, Henry does sound a little bit cooler than Mike. I'll say that.
I think I probably should add some Jim Beam to it. I maybe spice it up.
Probably.
Maybe I'll do that.
That would not hurt your street cred, my friend.
Yeah.
Moving along, why don't we head over to Leesburg, Virginia, where we've got the Godfather himself, Howie Snowden. What's going on, man?
Hey, Mark, how about that beatdown? That was a crazy.
What? Me versus my voice?
No. I meant
getting killed.
The debate. Trump really brought out the big guns tonight. I couldn't believe what I was
saying. You're supposed
saying.
to save your final verdict for the final thoughts, like in 45 minutes or so. But all right, spoiler alert: Howie thinks Trump won. Okay, so what are you sipping on over there?
I am drinking the Macallan Edition Number 2 Scotch.
Edition Number 2, is that an improvement on Edition Number 1 or what?
I'm not sure. It was a gift. It was.
So you skipped right to the sequel. You have no idea what went on in that first.
I usually, I mean, it's awesome, but I usually don't spend that much money on myself. But it's pretty tasty.
All right, and I believe we've got one more guest, hailing from the freedom capital of America, Philadelphia. JB Lubin, what's up, my man?
Good evening, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I'm doing all right, I guess. I'm drinking a little Old Forge Session IPA here because I'm old and I have work early in the morning. So it's not even a real IPA. It's a Session IPA. But it's made right here in Danville, Pennsylvania, and
what does that actually
greatly.
mean? Session IPA. I don't know what that means. Is that
session? Session IPAs generally range from I think like 6.5 to like 8% alcohol. A session is normally like 4.5, so it's a little lower alcohol content, so you can drink more of them. That's what's called a session.
So you can have a drinking session, right? Like
exactly. That's why.
It's a nice way to say a weak
IPA.
Action IPA.
Pretty much, yeah. It sounds a lot nicer than weak action IPA on
definitely,
the side of the can,
Definitely a better marketing tactic than what I would suggest, for sure. And that's why I'm in Liberty podcasting and not marketing. There you go.
Yeah, and I'd just like to point that I think your radio voice has blossomed brilliantly since episode 1. It's so smooth and sultry now. It's just like, I look forward to it.
Now I have to link to episode 1.
2 times a week.
Now I have to link to episode 1 in the show notes. You're giving me more work to do.
Exactly.
Episode 1's rough, guys.
I recommend everyone just listen and watch the progression. Just listen to every show over.
Hey, it's an interview with Stephen Kinsella. You can't go wrong. But I wasn't exactly as refined as I am now. Not that I sound refined today. If this is anyone's first episode and they're listening to me describe myself as refined right now, oh boy, that's going to be interesting. But moving along, speaking of refined, why don't we talk about this little display of political machismo, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, that we just saw between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. In many ways, I think it delivered on exactly what we all were expecting in some ways when it comes to Trump sort of going after Hillary Clinton. But at the same time, I thought Trump seemed to be reserved, not necessarily in what he was saying in his language, but to me, this is what I took away the most, is that his demeanor, he seemed to be really trying to act as calm and, dare I say, presidential as possible to try to combat all of the rhetoric against him, which is that he's a maniac and he, well, I guess we'll just skip to it. Grabs pussies left and right, apparently, and he just seemed to really be trying to display a completely different outlook on his persona. Did you guys get that sense at all?
I would still describe it as 2 kids on a playground. Personally, I still saw it as that, and it still came across as that to me.
I'm not saying he was successful. I'm just saying he seemed to be more toned down than usual. Just his tone of voice, his pacing, that's just what came across to me.
To me, I took it as he seemed, and I mean, rightfully so, probably incredibly stressed out right now. With the,
and he was fidgeting too, I should say. I said, I don't think he was successful, and they weren't doing that split shot the whole time. They did a lot of, you see Hillary Clinton talking, but you see Trump in the background kind of glaring at her, doing a little fidgeting here and there. He definitely looked off kilter, which after the last couple of days, how could you be anything but? The RNC has basically said we're pulling support from you in a way. They haven't really said it like that, but that's sort of what's happening. Major GOP players are pulling their support. Odie, what were your initial impressions about Donald Trump's demeanor and about did Hillary Clinton have an air of confidence about her?
Yeah, well, I think definitely Hillary Clinton. She had an air of, I would say, almost cockiness, a little condescending air about her, even more so than normal, which I think she normally has every time she talks. She speaks in a very condescending way that she knows better than everyone else. Donald's demeanor, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I think that it showed through that he is nervous, he's upset, which is understandable. Based on that tape being leaked, it's surprising that that his marriage is still together, but maybe so. So I don't know. Yeah, I think for everything that happened in the past 24 hours, I think he handled, or past 48 hours, he handled the debate fairly well, I think.
Hillary looked pretty confident when she came out, but Bill looked a little nervous when he walked out and saw Juanita Broderick and some of the other ladies who accused him of rape sitting in the front row.
Well, that was the biggest difference to me. The first debate, they did the split screen the whole time. This one, you got some reaction shots. And some of those first reaction shots were when they were referencing the accusers, I guess, if you will, of Bill Clinton in the past, who were all sitting in the front row. Donald had 3 of them there. And he also had, I guess, the woman who was one of the victims of that, the guy that Hillary Clinton helped get off of his rape charges. And there's that tape out there, and we'll link to it in the show notes. But basically, there's a recording of her basically, you can imply, there's a Snopes.com article, by the way, debunking supposedly this accusation of Hillary knowing this guy was guilty of this rape. But if you actually listen to the audio and you hear her basically laugh at polygraphs and say he passed a polygraph, and that's when I stopped believing in polygraphs, ha 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 ha. She was basically saying, yeah, I know this guy's guilty, I got him off, ha ha ha. You can hear that if you listen to the audio. So Snopes can say whatever they want. It's very obvious from the audio of that tape that Hillary, in her mind, knew that this person was guilty. So he had.
It was interesting too. The moderators like, of course they had to address it, but when I first saw this, I'm like, oh my God, is that? And they start talking like, oh, you see the guest we have here, Donald Trump stunt. They called it a stunt, but they didn't say. I'm like, are those the like rape accusers? I had to Google it to find like, who is that sitting there? They wouldn't like come out and say who they were and why they were there. They just called it a stunt and kind of alluded to it and then moved on past it.
Well, what do you guys think of that strategy? Like to bring the accusers there and to bring this up in light of what has come out of what Donald Trump said in the last 48 hours. Do you think that was like a good idea? How do you think that's
morally good or strategically
not morally
good? They're very different things.
In the terms of tactics, not what's morally right to do in this situation.
Where else can you go at this point if you're Donald Trump? You got nowhere else to go.
Are you saying this is like a last-ditch effort, like Hail Mary type of thing?
Scott Adams, I know Odie's been following his blog, and he makes a good point about Donald Trump. People get on Donald Trump about his tactics, but he's typically only responds to however he was attacked. If someone tweets to him, he tweets back. If someone calls him out, he calls them out right back. He's always proportional in his response. So now that they've come out and gone after him full bore as far as they can with releasing this tape, I'm not saying it's not legitimate, but I mean, anybody that's followed politics in their life will realize that the timing of this tape is politically motivated. I don't know who released it, but it's not just a coincidence that we're getting this in a month before an election in 2016 as opposed to any time before now, between now and 2005. So
the same day that the transcripts of her speeches and all that stuff was leaked.
The same day that all these WikiLeaks emails came out. I mean, not to be too wookie conspiracy, but some of this stuff happens at a certain time for a certain reason. Let's just face the reality.
Claim responsibility for this too? Because I vaguely remember saying he had stuff on both of them. Is this a WikiLeaks thing, or has
Donald
anyone?
Trump or the Hillary Clinton?
I hate to make it sound like some type of terrorist attack or anything, but did anyone claim responsibility for leaking this?
Yeah, that's one thing I have not heard is the source of this tape. Does anybody know?
So it's
that?
not involved.
It
it's not affiliated with WikiLeaks or anything.
I think it was whatever the station or show that it.
Yeah, obviously someone caught it on a hot mic in 2005 when they were recording this segment for, I think it was Access Hollywood or one of those shows that whatever show Billy Bush used to host. But it's someone that had access to it, but I don't think it's been in the news stories who leaked it specifically. They just know they have it. But obviously it's someone on the production team that caught that hot mic at that time, decided to keep that audio for their own purpose, and this is their purpose. They released it.
I would guess maybe at that time, 2005, they might have sold that audio, knowing that
or
Donald
they sold
Trump,
it at the time. That's possible.
He's a huge celebrity back then. He was even a huge real estate investor. So yeah, maybe I'm sure there are a lot of people that wanted.
I bet he'll run for president someday, and he'll be really controversial, and then I'll make lots of monies.
Well, The Simpsons called it, so it's entirely possible this person thought this too.
Not only did they call it, if you watch that clip, have you ever seen the side-by-side of the Donald Trump clip from The Simpsons where they do this like flash forward to the future and Donald Trump is president and there's a shot of him going down the escalator and he waves his arm, and that shot exists in real life now. Like that happened at a Donald Trump event, and it's almost frame for frame. There's someone that drops a sign in the background. I'm not trying to get all crazy conspiracy on you guys. I'm just saying, if you Google this, look it up on YouTube, Donald Trump Simpsons, it's pretty weird. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, it's pretty obvious we live in a parallel universe. Let's just get that out there.
Howie thinks we live in a simulation. So
yeah, we do. I mean, look at what's going on. This couldn't just naturally happen. But JB, your point about was this strategic or not? One of the members of our forum had pointed out when Anderson Cooper was so pointedly asking Trump, like, but did you sexually assault anyone? Did you do these things that you were said in the audio thing? And he said, no, he didn't. And the person in the forum's like, watch them bring somebody out saying, yes, he did immediately. And it's like, well, they can't really do that when three women that are going to stand up and say, yeah, well, Bill Clinton raped me, are sitting right in the front row. So, I mean,
they were his protection.
That could have mitigated a lot, because if they, went down that road with him, he's got worse on the Clinton side sitting right there. And I'm sure they wouldn't keep silent.
That's a good point, Howie. If Hillary Clinton, if her campaign wants to keep pushing this and making this, one of the headlines in the campaign, then Bill Clinton's going to continue to be a headline. I mean, you can argue that maybe it's not an ethical way for Trump to to attack back. I don't know if it is or isn't. I really.
Clinton,
but my main point is it's not even on the ethical scale. It's like, really, is this even effective? Because when I see them interact, like I said at the very beginning, they remind me very much of two children. So if I have a child who did something wrong, and the first thing they can say about that wrongdoing is that this other kid did something worse, I'm not going to go any easier on them. As a matter of fact, I'd probably be angrier.
Hey, something I saw online today.
Remind me not to be raised by JB. That sounds
yeah, you'll be in your room forever until you're 18.
I would never get dinner.
Hey, something I saw today. Bill Clinton got booed off stage at an event recently. They're not booed, but they were yelling that he was a rapist, and he had to get off stage.
That's a little different than booed.
Yeah, he got rape chanted off stage.
Rape chanted is now a term we use.
I mean, I saw this online, so maybe it didn't happen, but I mean,
well, if you saw it online, we know it's the truth. So I'm
saying this stuff is coming back to bite them, and maybe it was kind of a threat to, hey, if you guys don't let this go, I'm going all in, and.
Well, supposedly Alex Jones has bounties out for anyone that gets the words like "you're a rapist" or "Bill Clinton is a rapist" on television. So maybe it's related to that. It's like $5,000 for anyone that does it.
It probably is.
And why did I just advertise for Alex Jones? Jeez, do I get a cut, AJ?
Do we get an impression?
If anybody does this based on hearing it on this show, I want at least. Here's what you got to do to stop the New World Order. You got to yell, "Bill Clinton's a rapist" on TV, and I'll give you $5,000. That's my Alex Jones impression.
No, I mean,
that's all I got.
Like JB, you're pointing out, they're both terrible. They're both awful. And something I was mulling over today, I mean, everybody knows that I've been so disappointed with Gary Johnson and really against him. And the reason that is because, he's not going to be a president, and he's the spokesperson for libertarianism. So I'm going to be able to articulate ideas to convert people. At least, not just be this awkward weirdo that makes us all look like idiots every day. But when I saw today that all these Republicans and the RNC were going to pull support from Trump, I thought, well, you know what? If they actually all did get behind him and there was a shot that he could win, he's not a perfect libertarian, and I don't like the way he makes us look, but he would be such a better president than Hillary or Trump. I thought, maybe I would vote for him if things went down that road.
It reminds me of this constant dynamic we have with Gary Johnson. And the biggest criticism of Gary Johnson from libertarians is what he just said, that he doesn't represent libertarianism very well. And he makes us look a little silly sometimes when he doesn't name a foreign leader or whatever, even though I think that was kind of a stupid question, whatever. But the point being, he's come across in a few mainstream interviews not that great. But when we actually think about for a second, what if there really is a tidal wave? I mean, there are reports right now that the Republican Party is pulling their money from the Trump campaign. I mean, I don't know how much this is really going to play out, but this is a clear, full political hit, all in trying to get Trump out of here. And who knows what kind of effects it might have. And if Republicans really do leave en masse, I mean, you already got George H.W. Bush declaring he's voting for Hillary Clinton. You got high-level Republican operatives declaring support for Hillary Clinton, but most of them aren't going to do that. If you want to get reelected, you're not actually going to say you support Hillary Clinton. These people got to go somewhere. And I mean, they're not going to Jill Stein. I mean, are they just going to remain silent at some point? You got to wonder. There's a month left. Can Gary Johnson actually gain legitimate support, or say even in a state like Utah, where Representative Jason Chaffetz just took his endorsement back? In a place where Mitt Romney, who knows, maybe Bill Weld finally rubs his neck the right way and he gives the full endorsement of that campaign. It only takes Gary Johnson possibly winning a state or two to prevent one of these campaigns, Clinton or Trump, from reaching 270 electoral votes and tossing this thing into, until an episode of House of Cards.
I just picture Bill Weld sitting, or Mitt Romney sitting Indian style in front of Bill Weld, and Bill Weld just rubbing his neck. But that's kind of weird.
The way I'm thinking of it now is like, don't even worry about Gary Johnson representing the Libertarian Party. Let's just imagine that he's a Republican, because he used to be a Republican.
He would be like the coolest Republican right now
if he was. Refer to him as Republican light. Like, picture him as being the Republican candidate if, for example, Donald Trump got railroaded out of here by the RNC. Wouldn't you rather vote for him?
I would.
That's what the question I would pose to people who are debating this right now. Don't worry about the libertarian label. Just pretend he's the Republican candidate.
I would.
Who would you rather vote for?
The only reason I wanted to vote against him was because I didn't want to encourage the Libertarian Party to nominate someone like him again. But if he could actually become the president, hell yeah, I'd vote for him.
It's funny. The more support he might get, theoretically, where he might be more inclined to really actually go support him more hardcore, whereas the less support, the more we don't want to show the Libertarian Party they did the right thing by nominating someone. It's a really weird paradox we live in as Libertarians, where we want the party to move in a certain direction, but at the same time, we do recognize that this person, almost any Libertarian that gets put up, even the worst person we can think of that could get that nomination for the Libertarian Party, probably going to be a lot better to us than Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, or whoever would have been in their place.
Even Bill Weld.
Oh, I don't let's not go that far.
Yeah, let's
it's
take
a
it
mind
easy here.
weld.
This is an incredible moment in time, and who knows what the heck's going to happen in the next week, 2 weeks, or up until the election. But one thing we could see happen, I mean, I could easily see this happen, is you see your Republicans, people leave Trump, go to the Libertarian Party, start supporting Gary. The Libertarian Party becomes Republican light. It's not even really associated with libertarianism anymore. So the Libertarian Party finds success is no longer even the Libertarian Party. If that even makes sense. And the Republican Party becomes the party of Trump, the party of the alt-right. Then you have three parties. And I mean, are we even any better off at that point?
And then we have to
the
start
Republicans
the Lions.
have taken over Libertarians. And I mean,
we start the Lions of Liberty Party then.
There you go.
The four of us, guys.
That's our move.
We'd at least have so much to talk about in the podcast, though, in a world like that.
Hey, good point. That's really, above all else, podcast material is my main concern, actually, in life right now. And I'm not even joking about that. What would we do without Donald Trump this year? I don't know what we would have talked about. I guess liberty,
a lot more
ideas,
boring, probably.
Yeah.
Philosophy, individual rights. Oh, yawn. I mean, who needs that stuff, right?
It's better than like copyrights and patents. So.
Are you referring back to episode 1 again, Howie? Because that's what I talked about in my interview.
It truly is for if you already are a hardcore libertarian and you want to listen to something.
All right, so I had a whole matrix laid out about how I wanted to go through this debate, but we're already 20 minutes in or so, and we haven't followed it at all. So why start now? So why don't I just ask you guys what from each candidate stood out to you the most? In terms of how it might have benefited them in this debate. Because I think they both, in their own way, they both kind of did display positive qualities if you're just kind of looking at this thing in a bubble. So why don't we try to be in somewhat orderly of a fashion? We'll start with Odie. Think of Donald Trump. Think of Hillary. You can do one of each. What kind of stood out to you as what might have benefited them the most from the way they handled themselves in the debate tonight?
So I'll start off answering that by talking about Trump. And I think Trump carried a theme forward that he tried to execute in the first debate, but didn't really do very well. I don't think really communicating it. Today he did much better, and he kept talking about Hillary's bad judgment, Hillary being in politics for 30 years, not being able to get anything done that she talks about. And then I think he added this today. He kept saying that Bernie Sanders says that Hillary Clinton has bad judgment. And he probably said that at least 10 times, just nailing her with that. And another thing that Trump said that I thought was hilarious when they asked about, can politicians be two-faced? Can they have a stance on private issues and a stance on public issues? And Hillary Clinton kind of answered in this rambling thing, talking about Abraham Lincoln and how he was had different arguments for different people. And Trump responded by saying, "So Hillary is now blaming Abraham Lincoln for her lies." So I thought that was a pretty good comeback. But Hillary, I don't know. I think it was pretty standard. Hillary, probably the best thing for her. She looked healthy. I thought she looked healthier than the first debate. She looked alert and she was sharp. But yeah, it was the same standard Hillary. She just basically, anytime Trump would criticize her, she would come back and say, "Well, that's obviously a lie, and everything he said is a lie." So, but it was standard Hillary.
She looked healthy, but every chance she got, she sat down, where Trump was pretty much standing like the whole time.
I more noticed how Trump was often very fidgety when he was kind of standing around. I mean, he's had a rough 48 hours, obviously, just having to use the term locker room talk over and over and over. But yeah. Howie, what about you? Did anything stand out to you from Trump's performance here or Hillary's performance? Do you think either of them gained from tonight?
Yeah. Trump, first of all, one of the things, I mean, I definitely don't support Trump or Hillary, but one of the things I was disappointed in the first debate was there's so much stuff on her that he just glossed over, and you could so easily nail her. And tonight he did. He brought it all up and hammered it home. And that's what he needs to do. And actually this morning or the past, 48 hours, everything's been going on in the Republican Party abandoning him. I think he probably stopped that from happening tonight. I think he did. I think he had a really good performance, and that's going to stop them kind of like maybe officially being like, you're no longer a Republican candidate, or any kind of create like something extreme like that. But some criticisms of his, I bet you someone told him that Republicans like it when you go after the media and the moderators. I think he overdid that. Even though I loved it, I don't think it was probably the best thing to threaten that he was going to put Hillary in jail if he wins. And I don't know. I thought he had a pretty good performance, except for he seemed super stressed out, and I'm sure he was freaking out over everything that's going down. Probably melting down from the whole leak. But Hillary, as usual, she looked good. She sounds good, but it's all empty platitudes, which when you're dealing with other politicians, and even the way Trump debated the last time, that works. But when he's actually bringing up these real things that are so damaging she can't deny, all she could say is, oh, that's not true. It kind of, that just normal everyday politician act, I don't think is going to work. She's just too shady, and it's coming to light.
JB, what about you?
Well, I think what I liked best, which there's very little, so this will be short, from both of them is, I guess my theme is refreshing honesty. My favorite part from Donald Trump is how he took on the whole tax code, not paying taxes thing, like straight head on. He was like, that's right, I didn't pay any taxes. I didn't do anything illegal. He used the tax code given to him by the U.S. federal government and found a way not to pay any taxes. He didn't break any laws. And he took that head on and said, if you don't like how the tax code is written, Hillary, why didn't you change it? I think he overstepped it a little bit by suggesting that one U.S. senator can completely change the U.S. tax code, which I found to be completely ridiculous. But at least he was refreshing and open. It's like, yeah, I took advantage of the tax code that was given to me to pay no taxes. And I thought that was awesome. I like honesty. I like accepting things and taking it head on so people know what they're dealing with. That was by far my favorite thing that he said in the entire debate, because it's real. I like that little taste of realness you get in this muddle of a presidential election. And as far as Hillary is concerned, there was far less of that. But I think one point that came up is when they were discussing Obamacare, and she honestly and openly admitted that Obamacare is not working, and that's just not something that needs to be overhauled, which I was fairly impressed that she would admit just directly that it's not working and she needs to fix it. So that's basically what my two favorite points from either candidate in the debate is, just being, honest with us,
Can I just say something about Obamacare real quick?
No, there will be no negative talk against Obamacare on this podcast.
Listen. It was designed to fail, designed to not work. And the reason being, just like liberals
sound like a conspiracy theorist.
Just like liberals do with everything else, they say, oh, it didn't work because we didn't do it enough. We need to do more. And they wanted just, the government pays for everyone's healthcare. It's a government-run socialist system. And that's what they want. But they put this in first, and it's, they try to make it seem like it's half capitalist, half government. And obviously this was never going to work. And I think that was intended. And the next push, if Hillary's the president, or even if she's not, from the Democrats in the Congress, are going to be for a one-payer system.
Donald Trump was so close to saying something sensible today on Obamacare when he was talking about opening up the borders and letting insurance companies across state lines just freely interact and do business whoever they want in the country. He was this close to saying something sensible, and then he went off on some ridiculous tangent. I was like at the edge of my seat waiting for him to say what needs to be said on this. Allow free trade of insurance across all state lines, remove these artificial boundaries, help get these prices down with competition. It was so close. But then, it kind of just blew away with the wind. So That was another one. He almost got another plus from me there. So close.
Let me tell you something about Obamacare. It's a globalist New World Order conspiracy to bring us all under the New World Order system. Yeah. That was my Alex Jones combined with Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds a bit more like the Macho Man to me from where I'm sitting.
The stuff blends together for me sometimes, you know.
And now to our sponsor, Slim Jim.
You know, that's funny you say that because I was actually about to toss to our sponsors. So why don't we actually take a real break and toss to our sponsors, who, by the way, are not Slim Jim, but God, Slim Jims are delicious.
Hey guys, this is Roger Paxton, and if you're fed up with the government running every single aspect of your life, but you're not listening to the Lava Flow podcast yet, then what's wrong with you? Check us out at thelavaflow.com, or just go back to sucking up to the government. The Lava Flow podcast, striking the root every single episode.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
Hey everyone, the Johnny Rocket Launchpad is Liberty. Each week we strive to bring you the best guests in talk radio. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad delivers weekly interviews of noteworthy politicians, experts, and activists. The Johnny Rocket Launchpad is bringing the party to the Libertarian Party and launching ideas in your direction. Check us out at johnnyrocketlaunchpad.com. You can hear me, Kurt Nelson, and the beautiful Heather Nixon talk about the ideas of liberty, rock and roll.
All right, we are back. It's good to have sponsors. It's good to be loved, and it's good to spread the love. So please spread some of that liberty listening love from your earbuds to some of these other podcasts of ours. Roger Paxton's Lava Flow podcast, Johnny Rocket Launchpad, We Are Libertarians. These are all great shows that are in my podcast queue, and maybe they should be in yours too. So go ahead and check them out, guys. And we're back here talking still about the latest presidential debate. Part of me thought this debate wasn't even going to happen. Did anybody think that was in doubt? I mean, at one point, it felt like the world was collapsing around Donald Trump. You see the Republican Party talking about pulling out. You see people like John McCain talking about dropping him. I almost thought we were going to see a headline like that the networks were going to refuse to allow him on their stage because they were so horrified by the events of, and we haven't really talked about it too much. So why don't we delve into it, I guess, a little bit. The events of Pussygate.
Everybody pulling out, pulling their support and all that stuff.
Oh,
Pussygate.
By the way,
That went south quickly.
can we take 30 minutes to just laugh at Pussygate?
I saw that Rand Paul criticized or condemned what he said, but did Rand pull his support, or is he still Team Trump?
I only saw him condemn what he said, but he didn't say he would go back on his pledge, and you know how he is about that pledge.
Okay, because I know some people specifically said they're not supporting anymore, this and that, but Rand, I don't know if I knew he'd.
From what I saw, Rand did not pull his support. He did say he could not, it would not excuse, and it was unacceptable, and all that stuff.
Okay, interesting.
So I said those words, Pussygate. Odie, as far as I know, dubbed that on the internet earlier this weekend.
I think I did.
I think you actually did.
I don't know if I want to take credit for that, but
it's not the best thing to take credit for, I guess, but it's an accurate description because
I'll take credit for it if you won't.
All right, JB, thanks for dubbing Pussygate.
No, I want the credit. I'll take it.
Right. You guys can go fight in libertarian property rights court after this show. By Judge Stephan Kinsella, who's going to decide your case. I already lined it up for you guys.
So how damaging do we think this is, fellas? Is it the end of Trump? Because let's say on a political and, a reality level.
Part of me thinks it is, in a way, because if I didn't already seem to think that Trump is sort of become Teflon and that he has superpowers that exceed the powers of a normal politician, then I would think that he's done, because it's not, I don't want to say it's not awful. If he's actually going around grabbing women's vaginas, yes, that's awful. I don't really think that's what he did. I'm waiting. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw people coming out giving press conferences saying that this happened to them now, but just because it's politics is politics. But as far as I can say right now, this is a very braggadocious man who is boasting about his prowess and how great he is with women to Billy Bush. And it's not an admission of sexual assault, as people are trying to say. Now, I don't want to come across as defending what he said. If he's actually done anything that he kind of alluded to, yes, of course, if he actually is walking around grabbing women's vaginas, of course, I abhor that and think that would be terrible. It just, to me, doesn't seem like that's really what he's saying he did. But hey, I might very well be naive. Maybe Trump is a serial sexual molester. Hey, it's totally possible. But what do you guys think about that?
I agree with you. He's a braggadocious guy, and if he's just talking shit in the locker room, that's whatever.
I mean, it wasn't exactly a locker room. It was a stage with Billy fucking Bush.
If he is actually sexually assaulting and groping people, in an unwanted manner, then
I think it's interesting that this involves Billy Bush, who did not seem at all horrified by what he was hearing from Donald Trump, seemed to sort of laugh and agree with him.
He got fired today.
I didn't see that.
He got suspended, I thought. Did he get fired? I thought he was suspended.
I don't know. I just saw somebody posted he's off.
How he here with the breaking news and immediately backtrack? Well, I don't know.
All these things I've been bringing up are from Facebook, so it's hard to.
Facebook. Our lead Facebook headline news reporter, Howie
Someone
Snowden,
posted on
reports,
Facebook, Billy. I don't know if it specifically said something.
Something went down with Billy Bush. Let's just put it at that, and it might have been made up. That's the Lions of Liberty news, folks.
I'm just gonna say I don't think you'll be seeing him on TV anytime soon.
I
don't think so either. And I think if it was any other, just a regular politician, whatever, a senator or a congressman, and something like this came out about them talking about women this way, they would be resigning. Probably they would be done. But I don't know. Yeah, Donald Trump has a way to maneuver around things like this. I don't even know how he does it, but. As soon as it broke over the weekend, if our listeners who are in the members of the Lions of Liberty Forum on Facebook, if you're not, you can join it by going on Facebook, putting Lions of Liberty Forum in the search bar, and we will get you approved once you join.
I'm glad to see that the chip I implanted in your brain to automatically plug the Lions of Liberty Forum is working.
It's working spectacularly. Anyway, anyone who's been listening to this podcast for a while knows that I've been saying, and Mark's been saying too for a long time, that we think that Trump's going to win. Goes back to what we heard from Scott Adams at the beginning of the campaign. But anyway, over the weekend after this broke, I posted in the forum saying I think that that's not the case anymore, that Donald Trump is not going to be the president. So I think it is going to have that much of an effect, just the perception of it. Of course, if he is going out there and actually sexually assaulting women, he should be in jail. But it's not a crime to talk about.
It's weird.
That
it's almost like they're saying that, but then they're not really saying that, because you wouldn't allow someone he wouldn't be on a debate stage if there was any allegation that he actually committed sexual assault. I mean, he would be. It's just, the whole thing is strange to me. It is. The world is acting like he's a sexual molester, and yet he's out there running for president on a debate stage, and no one's questioning that there's any charges that would be filed. I mean, I understand the outrage, believe me, with people, especially anybody out there who's been molested or been grabbed inappropriately. And if you hear these words from Donald Trump, you associate it with that. Totally understandable. I don't see any reason to defend his words or defend the things he's bragging about. At the same time, it's just very difficult for me to think that for the last 30 years, Donald Trump has been running around just grabbing women's vaginas out of nowhere. We've never heard a thing about it. And that just seems crazy to me. And maybe I'm just naive. I'm open to that possibility, but it just seems crazy to me that would be the case. And there's no actual people that are in the world saying this. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's had sexual relations with women at some point he touched their vagina, but is that the same thing as what people are sort of implying, that he's just almost just grabbing them out of the blue and saying, "I'm Donald Trump. You will enjoy me grabbing of your vagina because it's terrific and it's wonderful." I don't see that.
I'll tell you what, if you put this is a complete conjecture by me, I don't actually have any evidence for this. If you put a recording device in corporations across America just for 2 days, you would get tapes 10 times worse than this of men talking about women. That's not to say it's excusable, but it is out there, and it happens a lot.
I was just going to say something similar. It's like I'm really conflicted with this because I like to try to stay on topic and on policy as best as I can. And I know they try their hardest to veer away from that, but I try to do it. And looking at this objectively, like you said, this is like politically, like it's a death knell. Like you said, most elected officials, if not all, would probably have to resign if something like this came out. But Trump brought up that this is just words and not actions, like he alleged Bill Clinton, who was a 2-term president, was alleged to do. And like you said, if
he brought actual human beings with him that have said he did it, whereas there's no other human beings besides Donald Trump that ever said they grabbed his vagina unwantedly.
And not to condone anything that Donald Trump said in that audio recording, but if everything any of us has ever said was available to the public, would anyone be able to be president? Anyone?
Well, that's why I'm not running.
I plead the fifth.
You know, like I certainly
can I answer that question?
I'm not going to any details. I'm not going into details, but I certainly wouldn't be able to be president if anything I've ever said from like my entire life was available to the public. You know, so it's like, what do you do with that?
I mean, this whole thing needs to be put in perspective. I mean, he said this, but Hillary Clinton is responsible for the deaths and displacement of millions of people in the Middle East. Like, does it even hold a candle to that? I mean, come on.
It's like a very Ron Paulian thing to say as well, to point to the plight of millions of people. That's not the kind of thing you would associate with Donald Trump.
Isn't Ron Paul in the news recently?
Hey, there's our segue. Howie, I know you wanted to talk about this, and I think we should touch on it actually briefly as well. So there was actually some libertarian podcast infighting this past week. Not really infighting, but differing of opinions. As you know, Austin Peterson, he put out a video that was criticizing Ron Paul, who had been asked on a couple shows about the candidates and had mentioned in the positive light Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. Now we have to be very specific here. Ron Paul only mentioned Jill Stein in the sense of, I think she's very strong on the war position. I think she's very strong on the war on drugs, and gave the caveat, and she's freaking wacko on economics and everything else she says. But of course, headlines don't care about that. Headlines, so you see headlines online, Ron Paul endorses Jill Stein, because basically the only thing he ever recommended was if you're progressive and you're going to vote for someone who's progressive, you may as well vote for Jill Stein, because at least she's anti-war. At least she's not a corrupt person like Hillary Clinton, even though I disagree with all her economics, etc. But you can't only focus on one thing he said. That's kind of what I think Austin Peterson did. He came out and really focused on the fact that Ron Paul even dare mention the name of Jill Stein and how terrible Jill Stein is. And I agree, Jill Stein's pretty freaking terrible. Jason Stapleton did a whole breakdown of all of her positions and pages and pages of her platform. I highly recommend giving it a listen. It's a damning breakdown. I mean, the stuff that she puts out there, and it's worse than the actual Communist Manifesto. I mean, it's bad stuff. I'm totally on board with that. That being said, it doesn't mean you still can't praise her on being strongly anti-war, on being strongly against the war on drugs. And it really annoys me when libertarians start to get a little tribalistic and get a little, Ron Paul couldn't fully endorse Gary Johnson, and he took a shot at Bill Weld, but how dare he mention the name of Jill Stein? Well, guess what? That's what I always loved about Ron Paul, is that he doesn't care what your party you're involved in. He doesn't care who you are. He's going to call things like he sees them. And I think that's all he did there. And he definitely didn't endorse Jill Stein. He said as much in the same sentence as he made the compliments. So, Howie, I'm going to toss it to you because I know you want to bring this up.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Paul said he's not endorsing her. He's not even voting for her. What he said was, if you were a progressive, that, she's good on peace. Unlike, Hillary is like the Grim Reaper. I mean, she's responsible for so many dead in this world. And it's been controversial in the libertarian community. And the way that I like to break it down is, if we're talking about voting, politicians don't care about your opinion if you don't vote. There's even like a record kept. So if I go to see my congressman, they'll know if I vote or not. They could look and see, did he vote in the last couple elections? They don't know who for or what, but they know that she did. And when there's large numbers of people voting but not for them, then they might start to think like, well, how can I change my message? What can I do different to get these people on board? And so That's the reason I think you should vote. And I don't think you should vote for one of the main party candidates when we have people like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I think it's much better to vote for a third party. And you would assume I would be supporting the Libertarian candidate, which I have not been because, one, I don't think he is a Libertarian. I don't think he spreads our message. I don't think he explains the ideas of liberty well. I don't think he makes us look good. So I don't want to vote for him because it's going to encourage them. If he does better than any Libertarian candidate ever did before, then they're going to nominate someone like him again. So I don't want to do that. And I'm not voting for Jill Stein, but I could understand why Ron Paul wouldn't be out there encouraging people to vote for Gary Johnson because he's not a Libertarian. He doesn't spread the message well. And it's even true that Jill Stein, the Green Party socialist, is better on war than Gary Johnson is. And it makes sense to me that if someone asked me, would I suggest a liberal progressive that probably wouldn't even ever vote Libertarian anyways, vote for Jill Stein, someone who's never ever going to be president anyways? Yeah, of course I would. I would rather them cast their vote towards that than towards Hillary, because maybe then the Democratic Party might become more dovish.
It's funny how many like far left progressive type people actually think Gary Johnson is an extreme right-wing anarchist with his economic policies. Like, I know a lot of people that are anti-Hillary strongly and would never consider Gary Johnson because they see him as too free market and too like right-wing, which I'm like, talk to some libertarians and tell them that, because like that's the problem that they have with him, is that he's not. So it's just funny the different perspectives. But look, if that person is going to not vote for Gary Johnson ever, wouldn't you, like you just said, Howie? Yeah, of course I'd rather have them vote for Jill Stein and throw it there and at least reject the two-party system than to put it to Hillary. That's really all that I saw Ron Paul is saying. Odie,
yes,
JB, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what Ron Paul was basically trying to do is to get more people to vote based on their principles versus a D or an R.
Even if he disagrees with those principles.
Exactly. And once you start getting people to stop looking at this like dichotomy between Republicans, Democrats, and start thinking more principally, then maybe eventually once they learn a bit more and get more in tune with maybe our message, for example, they'll be less hesitant to vote for a libertarian if they're already down that track. And I think that's perfectly acceptable to try to get more people to place more principled votes. And I think that's basically all that is. If you don't agree with the things that Hillary Clinton is doing and Jill and more of your principles and policies align with Jill Stein, then you should vote for Jill Stein. Don't vote for Hillary just because you feel like you need to or that you should. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable thing to say, because you're not going to pull anyone who's even considering voting for Jill Stein into the libertarian camp at this moment. But what you can do is get them to think a little bit more about the policies that these people are putting forth and cast a vote that may be considered a wasted vote now, but might not be in the future.
And JB, you can also spread that goodwill of, you know, you both understand that you're for peace and you respect that. And they'll be like, oh, JB likes his libertarian guys, but he's good on peace. He really cares about war and, you know, that kind of stuff. Maybe I should listen to him.
At least he's principled there. Whereas if you suddenly support, say, Donald Trump, which a decent number of libertarians do. My next guest on Wednesday, Derek Grayson, T-Mott, he supports Donald Trump to this day, and he has his justifications for it. I sort of understand them, even though I disagree with them. But, you know, to me, it's at least better to be able to stand in your principles, even if they're not with someone popular. Just like the reasons we all supported Ron Paul at one point is because even though we didn't think he was necessarily going to become president, he aligned with a lot of the things we believe so closely, even if we might disagree in some ways, so closely. And he was so principled that even if I disagreed, I wouldn't care, because at least I know he's not full of shit like most of these guys are.
I don't know if you guys remember back in 2008 when the Ron Paul revolution started and everyone was waiting to see who's Ron Paul going to endorse after he dropped out. Is he going to endorse, I guess that was back then, that was Bob Barr, I think. Wasn't Gary Johnson yet. Gary was 20 as well.
And guys, it's amazing. I don't know if there were really any libertarian podcasts in 2008. It would have been crazy if there were. But if you guys that are new to this think Gary Johnson was criticized, I can't imagine if we had Bob Barr's Liberty Hood or whatever. Like he would have been torn to shreds. He's way worse than Gary Johnson.
And I remember Bob Barr being angry at Ron Paul for not endorsing him. And then Ron Paul called a press conference, and he invited Ralph Nader and a couple other third-party candidates and Bob Barr and he endorsed voting for the third-party candidates.
Yes.
Just any of them.
Just the concept of voting.
Yeah, just the concept of it. So it's not like this is a new thing
at all.
And Austin Peterson was around the party back then. He knows about that. Unfortunately, I think Austin Peterson has a bit of an agenda here, obviously, and he's starting his run for 2020 a little early, and he's positioning himself, probably trying to be friendly with the Gary people, and he's been supportive of Gary Johnson's campaign, which is fine, but I think it's pretty blatantly obvious what he's doing. And Jason Stapleton, who had a whole episode dedicated to talking about Jill Stein's horrible policy, which is great, but he kind of took Austin's misinterpretation of what Ron Paul said and went with that and didn't really explain it, which is a shame because Jason normally does an outstanding job getting in the details of things and explaining the motivations of them, and I think he really missed on this one.
And they even played the clips. I mean, I don't see what the outrage is. To me, it just seems the fact that Ron Paul mentioned Jill Stein, they're angry about, and they rightfully tore Jill Stein to shreds about the stuff she's bad about, but it's not like, oh my God, how dare you say her name? I mean, that's how it kind of came across.
Jason's complaint was that it was confusing and he muddled the message, but if you are an intelligent person that actually listens to his words, that's not an issue. I mean, he can't be responsible for what idiots take from it. What I guess the news media takes from it. Oh, Ron Paul endorses Jill Stein.
But that doesn't even make any sense. You can't just go around just saying, okay, we're only going to talk about these certain sect of people that have these certain beliefs, because there's not enough people like that. You got to pick and choose from different people where you have agreements and build coalitions. I mean, I don't know.
I agree, and I'm totally open to working with progressives with the areas where we agree, and I think we need to bring people in. We need to have discussions. I don't think they're like against us because they're horrible, evil people. They don't know enough yet, and we need to educate them. It would be nice if we had a candidate that was good at articulating.
We got to grab them right by their. Wait, no, hold on. I'm not going to really say that. I might have said it, and I might have edited it out, and none of you are going to ever know.
I'm trying to go the whole episode without saying it.
Because honestly, who would even consider voting for Jill Stein is going to take Ron Paul's word for it.
No. Oh wait, Ron Paul endorsed him. Okay, I will vote for her. I was on the fence. That doesn't
make sense on a fundamental level.
It's silly. It's plain silly. There's no negative that's going to come from it.
No one has done more towards promoting liberty than Ron Paul. No one.
Well, there you go. That seems like a good.
Except for the Lions of Liberty.
Thank you. I was waiting for someone to finish that incomplete sentence. Except for the Lions of Liberty, because Ron Paul says a lot of great stuff, but you know what Ron Paul doesn't do? I'm just kidding. He does. He roars for liberty, and I know that because Ron Paul, for new listeners, was on the show, and even Ron Paul roared for liberty.
I thought you were going to say he doesn't drink liquor and rant.
I don't think he's a big drinker. I don't think he drinks, but I'm not sure if he is never drank. You know what I mean? My dad doesn't drink, but he doesn't never drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
We should ask him.
Well, when I get Ron Paul on again in episode 500, I will ask him if he's ever had a sip of alcohol and what his favorite drink is. But as far as we know, not a big drinker, but a great thinker. Ron Paul, in many ways, inspired the work we're doing here at Lions of Liberty. And it's been fun, guys. Why don't we make I guess the next time we're going to chat is going to be after the third presidential debate. So why don't we just make a quick, I guess you can call it a prediction. It doesn't need to be a specific prediction, but what do you expect to see in the world of politics when it comes to the Trump-Clinton race in the next couple of weeks? Do you think Trump's going to drop drastically in the polls? Do you think this debate steadied things out? Do you think he's going to keep losing support from the RNC? Or is something crazy going to happen? Is Gary Johnson going to really pick up steam maybe and maybe even get into the third debate? I mean, I would have said no a week ago, but at this point, I'm not sure what to believe. So we'll try to go in orderly fashion. Odie, we'll start with you.
My prediction is I have no clue what the hell is going to happen. I think Gary Johnson will pick up some support. Will he get to 15% and get in the next debate? I just cannot see that happening. I can't see it happening. Maybe it will, but it's I don't know. There would have to be major endorsements from Republican officials moving over, saying they're voting for Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. I just can't see it happening. I think Trump did enough tonight just to kind of calm things down. If more stuff comes out, which I've heard that maybe more could, then who knows? But yeah, it's just weird. I don't know what the hell's going to happen.
All right, that's a great non-prediction. Howie, what do you think's going to happen here? Or not happen?
My non-prediction is Gary Johnson will not be in the next debate.
Well, that's a prediction, technically.
I think any chance of that ended tonight with the debate. I think Trump did well enough that any kind of crazy, the whole Republican Party revolt is squashed. And even today I saw there was a poll where a lot of the Republican leaders were abandoning him, but the party regulars, the regular people, were still supporting him and wanted him to keep going. And so that plus the debate performance, I don't think there's going to be some mass defection of Republicans to Gary Johnson or anything. Still don't know if it's enough. I mean, this was a serious savage blow from the Clinton campaign towards Trump leaking that audio. But and I'm sure they both have more stuff in store, and I'm sure WikiLeaks and everybody else, there's more stuff to come out. And really, I don't know if we're trying to say who's going to be the president. Yeah, I don't think we could say right now. There's too much crazy shit going on.
And Trump is following this WikiLeaks. Trump specifically brought up stuff that was leaked by WikiLeaks like in the last 24 hours. So, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that during the debate. He said, hey, you may make fun of Twitter, but it's a great means of communication. Like, he loves Twitter. He's obsessed with Twitter.
Yep.
But he's never sent an email.
No emails, but tons of tweets. JB, final thoughts. What do you think we're going to see here in the next couple of weeks?
Pretty much more of the same. I don't think anything's going to change. I don't think it matters one bit how many Republican elected officials denounce him or change their endorsement. The people are still behind him. I think he'll see it. You'll see if you see any drop at all in his support, it'll be negligible. I just don't think his support really cares. He did a fairly good job at damage control tonight, and I think it's just going to be more of the same for the third. And I certainly don't think Gary Johnson's going to benefit from this. That's my prediction.
No matter what, Gary Johnson doesn't benefit. That's pretty much how things.
Did you guys see Jimmy Kimmel did a thing? Are you smarter than Gary Johnson?
I didn't see that one. I saw some of the other Gary Johnson skits.
And I've even saw like an article today, like, is Gary Johnson dumber than Sarah Palin?
I mean, that's just silly. And I'm going to predict that in a couple weeks, we're going to do this all again. We're going to watch another Clinton-Trump debate. We're going to make some non-predictions, and then we're going to see what happens, because a month or so from now, we're going to have a new president-elect anyway, not necessarily a new president, and it's going to be interesting. This has been, like we've said, the craziest election, legitimately, I think, of any of our lifetimes, and that's not hyperbole. This has been absolutely nuts. We've never seen an election where you had an insurgent candidate like Bernie Sanders. As much as we love Ron Paul, it's hard to deny Bernie Sanders got more support within his party and within his movement than Ron Paul did. And another insurgent candidate to the whole system, Donald Trump. Even though I think we all question how anti-establishment he really is, it's certainly been, a lot different than any other political cycle we've seen before. So we're going to keep following this thing here. In 2 days, like I said, I know for a fact, Derek Grayson, by popular demand, is going to be a guest on this program talking about his experience at the Libertarian Party's National Convention and just why he supports Donald Trump. And then, Odie, I know this Friday, again, another episode of Felony Friday. So why don't you give us a quick preview, huh? You got anything to say about this week's episode in
we're going to have
seconds or less?
Yeah, this Friday, we're going to have Regina Huffnagel back on the show to talk about Canada making that move, making that law to legalize prescription heroin. So,
all right. In unrelated news, you guys up for a trip to Toronto this weekend or no?
Well,
okay.
You got to already be a heroin addict, so I don't think you can get that.
All right. Howie, you've got a homework assignment. Become a heroin addict now. I'm just kidding.
I don't know how many times I passed out drinking at Penn State and woke up in Canada and just thought, not again.
And we've got our
only once for me.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I do appreciate you guys sitting through this. This one was pretty entertaining, so I don't feel too bad making you guys sit through it. But I appreciate you guys always coming on and giving your perspective through this libertarian lens. And until next time, folks, I've got only one more thing to ask of you, and that is, of course, live long
and live free.